Matthew Ward's message. Behind-the-scenes action. Catastrophic prediction with affectionate greetings from all souls at this station. This is Matthew. During this final phase of Earth's battle between light and dark forces, the growing backlash against inflation, shortages of basic goods, and the Middle East conflict are public knowledge, but the most significant action is not. Alongside the victories of the White Hats, nations and influential international factions are taking a stand against the deep state, particularly in the United States and Israel, where political and economic control has yet to be uprooted. After reaching the peak of chaos, for the dark forces it will only be downhill. During their zigzagging descent, truths will gradually come to light. Grassroots movements will gain strength and influence. Clones and doubles will be exposed and eliminated. Wars will cease. Many other wrongdoers will be arrested. Unjustly imprisoned people will be freed. Global alliances for humanitarian projects will be formed. Illuminati fortunes will be recovered. And countries will reclaim their natural resources that were stolen by multinational corporations funding the World Economic Forum. The stubborn puppets of darkness will not allow these developments to happen without resistance, but their efforts will be in vain. Those much-needed changes are vibrationally unstoppable. Nevertheless, the process of uprooting every trace of darkness is energetically tumultuous, and many people are facing difficulties related to health, finances, relationships, work, and other issues. The high frequencies supporting every light-based action also push souls to see situations that need to change, though without awareness that these changes will offer experiences they chose in their prenatal contracts. Now, dearest ones, we will respond to your questions and comments. You may already know what we know about David Wilcock. He was deeply troubled by personal circumstances and the recent death or disappearance of numerous scientists whose knowledge and interests were similar to his. However, we have no certainty, in any dimension known to us, regarding his final minutes on Earth. It would seem that David's thoughts at that moment were not clear enough to be perceived in etheric form. We can tell you, though, that he is a highly evolved soul, widely respected and loved, and that he is being tenderly cared for as he recovers psychically and physically in nirvana. I was wondering if you could provide an update on Project Blue Beam in 2030 and whether there will be a new world order. Will the new world order follow a diabolical path or an enlightened one? First, let us clarify that depending on the topic, your fact-checking sites and Wikipedia are sources of both truthful information and disinformation. An example of the latter are claims that when suppressed truths come to light, they are labeled conspiracy theories, and those who reveal them are conspiracy theorists. These labels were coined by the CIA years ago to permanently stifle emerging truth and discredit the source, and the public was indoctrinated into believing that anything labeled a conspiracy is garbage from confused minds. That said, the dark forces have applied these labels to Project Blue Beam and to the man who wrote about their plan to form a totalitarian government by establishing a new age, one faith religion, and technologically producing the second coming of Christ. That new world order would indeed be a diabolical path if it were to materialize, but it will not happen. What is coming is undoubtedly an enlightened path. A group of internationally renowned individuals, with moral and spiritual integrity and a long, esteemed record of leadership, will serve all peoples of Earth with wisdom and conscience. This is the foundation of governance in Earth's golden age, and in that continuum, the population of that age will be joyful, healthy, productive, innovative, and prosperous. Could Matthew comment on the following? There are rumors of a possible official government disclosure of alien existence coming soon. Listening more closely, it turns out that the Dark Hats are behind this disclosure, and their true goal is to make us believe that an alien invasion is imminent. An invasion, moreover, that they would simulate. Why simulate an invasion? To send us into a panic, and make us loudly demand a world government to save the planet. This is what they've wanted all along. While we cannot say with certainty that these rather muddled predictions are dark force propaganda meant to sow panic, they certainly have all the hallmarks. In their arrogance and assumed superiority over the masses, they reveal, sometimes explicitly as in that announcement, other times indirectly through books, films, and television shows, how they will deceive the peoples, eliminate most of them, and force survivors into slavery. Their goal has always been world domination, and simulating an alien invasion has long been a backup plan. The original idea was to use the Little Greys, members of a young Zeta Reticuli civilization, young in historical terms, who came to Earth for personal reasons and became trapped in the planet high density. The official abduction narrative is inaccurate, and personal accounts are incomplete, so let us briefly digress to discuss what actually happened. After the planet of a humanoid civilization was nearly destroyed by radioactivity thousands of years ago, some inhabitants took refuge underground, living in caverns. To adapt to the limitations of that environment, they focused on mental development and suppressing emotions, and those who eventually emerged no longer resembled their ancestral civilization. Over the millennia spent underground, their physical forms and characteristics had changed drastically, and although they had evolved consciously, they no longer felt emotions. To fill that unnatural void, some made agreements with souls to whom they were connected and who would incarnate on Earth. In accordance with the agreement, the Zeta Reticuli extracted eggs and tissue samples from these individuals. Those who didn't remember their role were traumatized, to implant into their people. The collective hope was that hybrid children would have human emotions and that within 2 or 3 generations, everyone in their world would have them. However, the visitors had been energetically bound by Earth's density and could no longer leave. This happened about 50 years ago, and since then they have lived in a part of the vast secret tunnel system of the deep state. In addition to blaming aliens for committing atrocities, conspiracy theory followers conducted medical experiments on abducted women and mutilated animals to increase public fear of extraterrestrials, even as the very idea of their existence was officially ridiculed. No one seemed to notice this blatant contradiction, and later psychologists dismissed alien involvement, claiming that people's accounts of abductions were likely fantasies, nightmares, or hallucinations of a science fiction nature. So, back to the fake alien invasion. When the Zeta Reticuli refused to participate in the nefarious hoax, Deep State members moved to Plan B, a technological holographic presentation, and they may resort to it. We don't believe they yet have the capability, but they are desperate and might try. If so, the crews of Hayton and the extraterrestrial special forces members on Earth will turn the invasion into a spectacular show. Especially in Europe, many of our governments tend to lean left, and little is being done to address violent Muslims or demands for a caliphate. On the contrary, any resistance is dismissed as Islamophobia. Could Matthew comment on this? Is there a risk these movements will strengthen, or is it just another case of much ado about nothing? Most Muslims are peaceful people who do not impose their faith on others. The deep state has hired zealous mercenaries who join religious fanatics to sow chaos and violence, and news of these events, along with fierce propaganda, has been widely circulated to create Islamophobia. The intent is to stir up so much fear, hatred, and discrimination among the non-Muslim population that the tension erupts into a religious war. Over the centuries, all religions have been manipulated by dark puppets. They removed from the holy books every reference to a single supreme being, the interconnectedness of all souls, innate abilities, and the power of light, and they inserted fabricated passages about infidels, killing unjust non-believers, a vengeful God, eternal damnation, male dominance, and lies about Jesus' life and teachings. These falsehoods have generated emotions and divisions so intense that over the past 1,000 years, millions have died in wars to defend or extend their own, or perhaps only their rulers, fervent religious beliefs. People who are awakening are understanding that religions, for centuries in distorted forms, were designed to instill beliefs rather than to meet the spiritual needs of the faithful. As the population advances in awareness and spirituality, people will abandon rituals while retaining the spiritual aspects of their faiths. Edward Snowden warns against adopting national digital identification systems, which would allow the government to monitor our movements and financial transactions. Does Matthew consider this a real possibility for our future? No. It's another dark force plan that will never materialize. Going back a bit, we will explain why we earlier said that their fortunes can be recovered. This is because they were accumulated illegally and immorally, by controlling the Western medical establishment and all stock markets, drug trafficking, human trafficking, biological weapons, adrenochrome sales, arms production for the wars they instigate, taxation, and interest on mortgages, loans, and credit cards. When they are separated from their immense wealth and their control over the global economy, millions of computer transactions without any basis, buying and selling will become simple private transactions. We are not financial advisors, but we recommend investing your cryptocurrencies. Current forms, devised and controlled by the Rockefeller faction, are not part of the new economic system in which all national currencies will be backed by precious metals. This system will be implemented when all darkness has been defeated. Surely members of the U.S. government know that a fake Trump is running that country. I don't understand why they allow this deception to continue or why the real president doesn't stop it. Many within the administration are themselves deep state members. Others are silenced with blackmail, bribes, or threats, and all ignore the few courageous ones who expose the president. We have been told that President Donald Trump favors letting the imposter, actually, a series of imposters, and complicit administration members hang themselves, while he and the white hats in the military drain the swamp in other areas. I know Matthew has spoken about this in the past on several occasions, and has always reassured everyone, telling them not to worry. Can he tell us about all the information sources that are suddenly talking about an extinction event, or extinction-level event, that is circulating and, of course, is likely making many people nervous? According to one source, there will be huge tidal waves flooding all coastal regions, changing the planet's geography, and this is supposed to happen in 4 to 5 years. So they are urging everyone living in those regions to move inland, and people are doing so. We assure you that this is not part of Earth's future. What the sources describe appears to be a global extension of the I Am America map, which nearly half a century ago showed what seemed to be the future of the United States, where darkness was firmly entrenched. At that time, relatively few peoples of Earth had embraced the light radiated from afar and generated by volunteers on the planet, and the light within a population is essential for it and its world to rise from third density. The Galactic Council that works most closely with Earth knew that if this opportunity for ascension were lost, remaining trapped in deep third density could be catastrophic, and the cartographer was provided with details of likely effects. We can only assume that if necessary, maps of the rest of that continent and others would have also been prepared. For the sake of Gaia and the souls inhabiting her, civilizations sent even more intense light. Other powerful civilizations joined them, and an increasing number of volunteers incarnated. The new abundance of energy allowed Earth to embark on an ascension path, and the I Am America map became obsolete. We cannot rule out the possibility that its description of catastrophic changes in land and sea masses, which would be global in scope, was spread by someone who felt obliged to sound the alarm. However, this is all the hallmarks of the deep state's desperate need to create a climate of fear on a global scale. They need the low vibrations of that energy for their own survival. Rather than ignoring other grim predictions, we urge you not to give any weight to fear-inducing information. Be confident and optimistic, love yourselves, breathe regularly, and shout, "We will make it." Dearest sisters and brothers, the beings of light throughout the universe honor you for your steadfastness in the mission and, with unconditional love, support you. Love and peace, Suzanne Ward. Summer Solstice, June 21st. Reclaim your power, and Inner Light June is ushering in a profound awakening of the solar plexus, our third chakra. As the seat of our will, self-esteem, and spiritual integrity, a blocked solar plexus can leave us feeling fatigued, powerless, or with a slow-burning resentment. Old memories and patterns rise to the surface. You may feel the need to sleep more and withdraw inward, processing grief, succumbing to addictions, experiencing irregular digestion and disturbed sleep, yet with vivid dreams. The June 21st solstice presents itself as the ultimate cosmic medicine, offering a perfect balance between the polarities of our light and shadow, helping us navigate these challenges and achieve higher alignment. We are supported in forging a deep connection with inner will, the higher self, and spirit, fostering a co-creative alignment. This is a turning point. As the sun reaches its zenith, use this solstice to dedicate yourself to the living prayer of your life. Embrace your spiritual warrior archetype. Enter into a serene dialogue with your mind and heart, and ask to release any subconscious patterns ready to be healed. Embrace your shadow with love. Trust your soul's unique path, and let the radiant solstice energy reorganize your mind and consciousness for higher truth. In recent years, many of us have been compelled into deep inner work on our emotions, healing our roots, confronting old family patterns, and redefining what it means to feel safe. This sacred solstice passage signals that the most challenging work is complete, inviting us to step out of the shadows of doubt and into the radiant warmth of our true, authentic self. Adding another layer of profound introspection to this passage is Mercury retrograde in Cancer. After beginning its pre-shadow period on June 12th, cosmic energies slow down further as Mercury officially turns retrograde from June 29th to July 23rd. Because this occurs in the highly sensitive water sign of Cancer, this retrograde acts as a deep catalyst for emotional transformation. Rather than a period of progress, it invites us to pause, revisit past wounds, and reprogram our inner dialogue, ensuring our mind and heart are fully aligned with our emotional truths about who we are. As a direct consequence of this intense emotional processing and the release of old karmic patterns, our hearts are undergoing a massive expansion. You may find yourself feeling emotions much more intensely right now, as the universe asks us to lower our defenses and welcome larger, deeper feelings. This emotional journey is not meant to overwhelm you. It serves to create the space needed for you to manifest your fullest authenticity. By allowing yourself to truly feel, you are building the foundation for resonant partnerships, deep collaborations, and authentic, heart-centered communities. We are finally learning to create together from a shared heart expansion, rather than from shared trauma. As July arrives, this inner reset perfectly prepares us for a massive cosmic transformation on June 30th, which will radically shift our collective focus. We are moving from a cycle centered on quiet survival and emotional processing to an era defined by pure, spontaneous, heart-centered creation. This shift is a direct invitation to reclaim your personal sovereignty, solidify your self-worth, and live your life with an open heart. The world is moving away from cold, rigid power structures toward authentic, courageous leaders who govern with true compassion and moral grounding. This powerful transition provides the building blocks needed to manifest the frequencies of the new Earth. As we move collectively toward an era of greater interconnectedness and community spirit, a healthy society requires fully autonomous, sovereign individuals. The energy of this month reminds us that we cannot serve the common good if we lose our unique identity to groupthink or fear in any form. We must individuate, release ego-driven recognition and the self-centeredness of the narcissistic archetype, the shadow of the spiritual warrior. By elevating our personal vibration through joy, playful creativity, and unshakable self-esteem, we can finally stop surviving and begin co-creating a reality based on abundance and love. Are you ready to step into your highest timeline? The cosmic doors are wide open, and there's no better time to break free from old limitations, become your most authentic self, and begin actively shaping your destiny with spirit. Galactic message. Soul contact. One of the greatest misunderstandings regarding extraterrestrial contact is the belief that encounters happen randomly. From a multidimensional perspective, most contact experiences are anything but accidental. They are often carefully orchestrated at the soul level long before incarnation. The soul is not a single entity. What you perceive as your individual soul is often an expression of a much larger oversoul consciousness that exists beyond space and time. This oversoul can simultaneously project multiple aspects of itself into different realities, dimensions, civilizations, and timelines. What appears separate from the physical personality's perspective is often deeply connected from the soul's perspective. For this reason, many encounters with extraterrestrial beings involve individuals who are actually not others at all. About 99% of contact experiences involve individuals interacting with another fragment of their own collective universal soul. These beings may appear as Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians, Yael, hybrids, or countless other forms, but at their core they are members of the same great soul family. They are aspects of the same consciousness exploring existence from different vantage points. This is why many who claim to have had contact with these entities report an immediate sense of familiarity, recognition, trust, or a deep emotional connection. The experience often feels less like encountering a stranger, and more like remembering a forgotten part of oneself. These encounters often serve specific evolutionary purposes. They may activate dormant memories, accelerate spiritual growth, facilitate healing, provide guidance, or help individuals align more fully with the intentions they set before incarnation. As humanity moves deeper into the era of disclosure, many will begin to understand that extraterrestrial contact is not simply about discovering life beyond Earth. It is about rediscovering the larger multidimensional family to which we already belong. In many cases, contact is not a first encounter, but a reunion with self. New time corridors as dimensional rifts become a daily initiation steeped in coyote medicine. We find ourselves navigating new time corridors. What has long been sought within, in history, and in texts now slowly shifts, eluding the laws of physics. We have become navigators of light patterns unknown to us. We have arrived at a point where we come face to face with many aspects of our multiple selves on an ancient ancestral astral level. Days and nights dance through time, creating a Las Vegas-like timelessness. We don't always perceive the change and shift when we remain still in the arms of time itself. Humanity has developed an innate ability that allows it to see what has been hidden, to see into the past and future while writing the present. Every experience is decoded with different encryption, using a different directory. Many have become like prickly pears, for what was locked deep in their stomachs now rises to the surface, causing the solar plexus to explode beyond its capacity to contain. The solar plexus has a living brain of its own, and all that rumbling you feel in your stomach is that powerful chakra speaking in tongues. Love and forgiveness are great balms for everything that still hurts. Like a wounded lioness, any criticism could be fatal for all. The pure light that lives within every person seeks to float effortlessly to the surface. The light within us desires itself, to strut upon the surface of all things, like a message in a cloud standing alone. As the goodness that resides in humanity struggles to emerge from the sea of confusion, ancient codes re-emerge. Timeless promises we made to ourselves come to remind us of our living words. We all face a blind corner as we shift our awareness forward in time, finding ourselves face to face with all the parallel and dimensional aspects of ourself. Everything now mirrors what we most need to face, heal, and remember. Some days we just want to stay home and board up the windows, but life demands active participation and always gets what it wants. Every day humanity changes the representation through every thought, every word, and every action, altering the presentation, pigmentation, and permeation of the pixels of change. Expanding the field of inquiry in the circle of everything live, all desires, needs, necessities, and dreams come true. In this field of inquiry, in all its fullness, there is a void that prevents it from leaving its boundaries of certainty. In the circle of everything lives every thought, every dream, every belief, whether you have or will manifest vertically in time. They live together in a community of unity that dedicates itself to you and only you in your spiritual growth during this earthly journey. When you find yourself empty or lacking substance, needs, material goods, it is in this place that you will find your true power. What a human being must seek is not found in the form you think. It lives in the transparency of its own being that exists in an invisible field of inquiry in a place of pure creation. In this place of the formless, what once lived solidified and structured has let itself dissolve into all that is sacred to take form once again on the believing request of another. What you seek does not elude you, because your faith in all earthly things has been tested and sustained over time. Nowadays, a deep fault darkens our souls. Every day, in every way, humanity is beginning to believe less and less in a world that can be saved and transformed. It is in the field of inquiry in the formless, in a place where you also lose your structure, that you can see with the eyes of your soul what your humanity is afraid to receive, what your humanity is afraid to manifest or create. In this place I have seen, through all time and all things, you will see the true reflection of your expectations that have been programmed by default or by mistake. It does not matter. To find this place of nothing and everything at the same time, you must breathe within yourself into a place of reorganization, a place of reflection, and in that reflection, a deep fissure of truth is revealed. Maya of the Pleiades. Conscious creation. I find it fascinating how many humans are deeply interested in things they say they don't want. You tell me about negative entities, energy vampires, psychic attacks, toxic relationships, curses, energetic cords, and all sorts of invisible creatures that seem to occupy much of your attention. Then, immediately after, you tell me you would like more peace, more joy, more freedom, and more love in your life. Can you see the contradiction? I'm not asking whether these things are real or unreal. From my perspective, that's not the most useful question. Anything can become real within experience. A dream feels real while you are dreaming it. A memory feels real while you are recalling it. A scary story can make your heart pound even when you know it never happened. Experience is remarkably flexible, and consciousness is remarkably creative. The question I would ask is much simpler. Why are you feeding it? If you put food outside your door every day, sooner or later visitors will come. If you spend your days studying fear, discussing it, researching fear, sharing it, and looking for evidence of its existence, your consciousness becomes extremely adept at finding more and more things to fear. You call it awareness. I call it gardening. And many of you are cultivating magnificent fear gardens. Imagine walking into a vast library containing millions of books. You pick up a book on spiritual attacks. Then another. Then another. Soon the entire shelf is filled with stories of danger, interference, hidden enemies, and dark forces. After a while, you begin to believe that the library itself is dangerous. Meanwhile, thousands of books on creativity, wisdom, joy, beauty, love, innovation, healing, and adventure remain untouched. The library was never the problem. The problem was the selection. Now, does this mean that other beings, dimensions, energies, and frequencies don't exist? Of course not. Consciousness is vast beyond anything most humans can currently imagine. You can connect with higher dimensional beings. You can connect with spirits of the deceased. You can connect with collective thought forms. You can connect with all sorts of frequencies and realities. My question is, why would you choose to spend your precious creative energy on projects that don't excite you? You have access to an infinite streaming platform. There are channels dedicated to inspiration, beauty, mastery, creativity, wonder, healing, and discovery. Yet many people obsess over the horror section and then wonder why their reality starts to feel scary. The universe is incredibly responsive. Where attention rests, experience follows. This is not a reward system nor a punishment system. It's simply how consciousness works. Attention is creative. Focus is creative. Expectation is creative. Imagination is creative. At every moment, you are casting a vote for the reality you wish to experience. That's why I encourage you to stop asking what you should believe and start asking what you would like to create. Belief largely belongs to the three-dimensional experience. It presumes the existence of a fixed reality outside ourselves, and that our task is to discover which version is correct. Creation is different. Creation understands that consciousness participates in experience. It understands that reality responds to attention. It understands that your attention is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. So when someone asks me if negative entities are real, I smile. I could spend hours discussing the subject. Instead, I usually ask a different question. Would you like to repeat that experience? Because if you keep giving it your attention, your emotional energy, your conversations, your research, and your imagination, you are strengthening that path within your reality. You are watering the plant. Then you seem surprised when it grows. I would much rather see you get excited about beauty. I would much rather see you explore joy, creativity, abundance, wisdom, love, synchronicity, inspiration, and all the extraordinary possibilities available to consciousness. These realities develop in exactly the same way. The difference is that most people understand this principle when it comes to fear, but forget it when it comes to wonder. So I invite you to be a little more selective with your attention. Not because something is good or bad. Simply because your attention is one of the most precious resources you possess. Invest that currency in experiences you would genuinely like to repeat. The universe is listening far more closely than you think. The Arcturian Council 9D. Uniting humans and extraterrestrials in the flesh greetings. We are the Arcturian Council. We are delighted to connect with all of you. We have so much to share with all of you regarding your contact experiences. Many of you are beginning to remember more and more the contact experiences you have at night while sleeping in your beds. You are, of course, leaving your bodies and embarking on these journeys to other dimensions and densities. You are visiting other planets, other star systems, and meeting friends and family from across the galaxy and beyond. You do this regularly, but most of you don't remember these interactions because they are very different from ordinary waking life experiences. Your mind struggles to translate those experiences into something you can remember upon waking, so sometimes you need to interpret dreams to understand where you were, who you were with, and what you were doing. Other times, you are meant to remember experiences you have already had, and you may use your dreams to access those past life memories. Most of you receiving this transmission were visited when you were very young, and it is part of the hybridization program, which has been fully successful. And so, you need to remember what already happened while you were sleeping and while you were being visited by ETs in physical form. Some of you have even woken up during these experiences, but then forgot what you saw or interpreted what you saw differently. And sometimes, the experience was so surreal, so strange, that you thought you were still dreaming. And of course, the adults in your lives, if you had told them about these experiences, would have attributed them to your vivid imagination, and thus would not have been much help to you. Now that you are an adult and have come to understand that you are a contactee, and that contact experiences are actually quite common, you want other memories to come back to you, and for you to remember more deeply the astral travel experiences you continue to have. You will, of course, also have contact experiences in this lifetime, because you are on the verge of first contact on Earth. You are still defining, as a collective, some details about how and when that will happen. As an individual, however, you can create your reality in terms of contact with entities, just as you create your reality in terms of things you manifest in your life right now. We encourage you to focus on what you would like to experience in relation to contact with physical entities, and we also encourage you to examine your beliefs, your belief systems, and your thoughts about how it should be, or how it has to be for you, so that you can become more flexible and replace limiting beliefs with more useful ones. You don't need to be perfect to have an encounter with an extraterrestrial. You don't need to have completely purified your chakras and past lives, nor vibrate at such a high frequency, to have a pleasant and wonderful experience. So open yourself to all the experiences that will be helpful to you and beneficial to humanity, bringing humans and extraterrestrials in the flesh together. It is happening, it will continue to happen, and these are truly exciting times for humanity and for planet Earth. We are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you.